Yeah, greetings YouTubers. Welcome aboard. It's the big guy again, Big Jim, in his London Taxi International 2003. Come on everybody, copy me. On 285,000 miles and counting on the clock. A very, 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 very good morning to you all. How are we? It's a Friday morning. And I'm back to work Monday, but that's a million miles away to me. I done a video for you yesterday telling you about my eyes, and telling you about Poppy as well, going off to the maintenance and gonna have her maintenance check, her yearly check. She went down there. Just got to get out of this little turning, guys. Yep, she went down for her, well, she went down basically for an MOT, and I took her down for the doors as well. And while they were there doing it, well, after the MOT, they said, what about having her under-sealed as well? We can Z-bar her. So you all automatically think, oh yeah, money, money, money all the time. So I said, yeah, how much is that going to cost us? And he said, well, we got all the equipment here and the tools. It's 30 quid. And they spent about an hour on it. Well, the grease monkey was on it about an hour while I was having a cup of tea. And they sprayed from the front, all under the wheel arches, all the way back, right back to the tailpipe of the exhaust for 30 holes. And that, it's lovely. It's under there, it's black and everything. Now, in the old days, or any of you are out there that will remember it, that old paint on black stuff that we used to use to cover up all sins on MOTs. I'd imagine a lot of you will remember the old Isopon P38 days, putting in the holes on the seals a couple of days before the MOT, and then a quick lack of black across the seal. Hopefully the guy wasn't clever enough, because they couldn't poke around too much because they weren't allowed. But what they could do, what they were allowed to do, was to stick a magnet up against your metal seals, and if the magnet didn't stick, then you'd fail the MOT, because the man would know there was Isopon P38 up there. So what did we do, guys? We got round that. We purchased iron filings, and we mixed it in with the Isopon P38 and we put it in our seals. A magnet used to stick to it, stick like shit, if you remember. That's oh, that's bringing back some memories, that is, just to get through an MOT. Fortunately, it's not like that today. Things have changed somewhat now. Anyway, another busy junction. I've got to come out here. I'm coming out at 20 past 8 in the morning. The traffic's stacked right the way back. Thank you. That's another good thing. They always seem to let the taxis out. Isn't it good? Anyway, so she went in for the MOT. They had a quick look over her. Couldn't see too much wrong. The only thing they did change prior to the MOT, which I hadn't picked up on, because to tell you the truth, I never used them. On the front of the TX2, you've got two doll's eye type fog lights, white fog lights, and they're sort of built into the lower bumper section, the plastic bumper section. And to tell you the truth, I've never even turned them on. One of them was US, was faulty, and they had to replace that. They gave it a quick look over. Oh, excuse me. They gave it a quick look over, and after the quick look over, after a 40-minute MOT, ladies and gentlemen, Poppy came back with a clean bill of health, including the admissions, which is underneath here, which she passed, because it's getting harder and harder for these old diesels to pass now. It really is getting difficult. Here it is. Getting difficult to do this. There's the emissions one as well. She went straight through the emissions. She went straight through the MOT and the brake test. Absolutely no advisories whatsoever. That ain't bad, is it? An old 2003 motor that basically was in a bit of a sorry state. Let me just straighten you up. It does make me anxious, that. Bit of a sorry state. On a 2003 plate with 285,000 plus miles on the clock, and she goes through an MOT. I've got 13 months MOT on her now, and I did notice that prior to this, obviously she was having 2 MOTs a year when she was licensed as a London taxi, but she'll go down to 1 MOT now a year, and I'll be doing between 6,000 and 8,000 miles on the clock per year. Am I twisted, or is it? That's better. Is that better? Yeah, that's a bit better. It's all right. I'm just very anal about it. So she's got through her MOT, okay, absolutely nothing. And then when I got back there, the guys, I had them do the 30-pounder underneath there. He said it didn't really need it, but belt and braces with me. Remember, she's moved from London, Poppy, and she's now living right down on the south coast. And when I mean I'm on the sea, I am literally a stone's throw from the English Channel. The wind whistles in off that channel, and obviously with the salt and the spray and everything like that comes in as well. So I thought it'd be money well spent at 30 quid. So she's all been Z-barted underneath, and that should carry her forward to next year. I was actually talking to the head mechanic down there about these TX2s, and I said about the mileage is nothing great on it, and he went, well, at 34 mpg, if that's what you're getting, you're doing well on it. Because he said some of his, remember, they have a fleet of 125 that they loan out, maybe down to drivers as well. They're getting as low as about 18 to 20. So at 35 in here, she must be running as she wants, nice and sort of, yeah, not rich, not lean, just about right. So I'm happy with that now at 34 miles per gallon. He was saying that the main problem with these is the rockers, which I wasn't aware of, because I'm always very cute, I listen all the time, and he said the rockers wear on these, and if the rockers wear, then you end up with push rods meeting the wrong thing, smashing the tops of the engines, and he was saying that they change theirs every 2 years whether or not they need them. He said you'll be able to tell, and any of you that have had these vehicles know that old slap, when you get that lucking slap from the top end rocker section. I haven't got it on this one. This is dead silent, this car. And he said that they changed theirs every 2 years as a matter of course. But I'm driving only 8,000 miles a year. Now, I did have a small oil leak, as you remember me saying in a previous one, and I did say to him about, can you have a look at the oil leak? And of course the old joke is, well, of course it's got an oil leak, they've all got bloody oil leaks. And I was talking to him, taking up loads of his time, and now I'm sharing it with you while I can remember. And I said, the bloody things, I said, you know, this oil leak, I was getting like a 50 pence overnight, a sort of 50 pence drop of oil. And he classed it as sweating. He didn't say it was an oil leak. He said it, no, it's sweating. He went all over Poppy, and he said that it's just sweating. He said, what happens when they have their lives in London and they're stop, start all the time? He said that the engine is trying to pull itself away from the gearbox, and that stop, start action, backwards and forwards, he says has a detrimental effect on it, and obviously they, unless it's really gushing out, but he said it's nothing to affect it for the MOT or nothing like that. So he wasn't unduly worried about it. He said it's fine. I wasn't unduly worried about it, and so it yeah, she went right for her MOT. That made me really happy, because this is the first MOT that I've actually done myself. When I say done myself, you always buy a car off of other people, and in the old days, again, listen to me, the good old days, MOTs were a lot easier to sort of muck about with, and you know, the old stories of the £20 note in a little tuck of a brown envelope would get any car through an MOT, and it used to happen because you know, I was around that time and you'd see it. So until you actually put your own car through an MOT, you don't really know if it is 100% legit. And remember, I had very limited time under this car when I purchased it. I mean, I couldn't jack her up at 1.25 tons, so me being the big guy, I had to get underneath her as best as I could to see exactly what I could. I knew all the rust spots and where they rot out. I knew all those, and they were fine. So I, you know, you can only do a sort of just a general. There's nothing better than when you get your motor actually up on a ramp, not in a pit because you're sort of down into it. But if you can get your vehicle up in a ramp, you've got it absolutely made. You can stand there, you can pick your ramp up, you can put your ramp down, you can just have it at a certain height. You've got, it's just perfect, you know. And you can work on it, and you can see, that's the main thing, you can see if there's any problems with it. And going under there with the guys and actually having a look at the ramp, it helped me see. And now I've got the MOT, the MOT on it for 13 months. We know she's a good one and she's worth keeping. I did say to him, what do you reckon, is there anything? And he said there's nothing that he could see that would need doing. Apart from, we picked up, I've got this like little squeak occasionally on the front. He said, do you know that little squeak you got on there? And you know what these guys are like, they work on the same vehicles all the time, same taxis all the time, you know, same model, they know everything. He said, you've got that little squeak on there that you get? And I went, yeah, it keeps coming and going. And he said, it's the shaft in the alternator. He said the shaft runs on an internal bearing, and he said it's worn. And he said, so what's happening is occasionally where the shaft is not round, he said he's packed it, put some grease on it, he said, but it'll come back. And he said that they're non-interchangeable, the parts on those. And the worst case scenario would be a new alternator. But he'd done a charge check on it, and it's putting out the full sort of 12.7, I believe it is. No, 13.2 volts, said it on these. He said it's putting it in, so he said he wouldn't even worry about it at the moment. And it is just a little minor squeak occasionally. What did make me laugh, guys and gals and little uns, was when I drove it in. Now, you got to think, this is like a commercial yard. This ain't a main dealership where all the technicians are all dressed in red overalls and got clean fingernails, and they're all like almost standing to attention behind glass so you can see your car being serviced. This is a working yard. This is where guys are called mechanics, and they work. Their job is to fix motors as fast as possible because they got loads of others behind them, covered in grease and all that rubbish. And he said to me, one of the mechanics said, we're frightened to go and sit in that. He said, we've never seen a car as clean as that in all our lives. He said, we used to have that being on the streets of London. Remember, a fleet of 125, they hire them out to drivers who don't give a toss, because if they break down, they just supply them another one. So they don't care. They don't give a toss. And of course, they don't clean their vehicles because, you know, they're hired. That ain't my job to clean them. So he said, well, we were frightened to sit in it. And he said, when I flipped the bonnet, I had to call all the other mechanics in the other bays around and get them to all have a look. They couldn't believe how clean the engine bay was. And you've seen it in one of my previous videos, and if you haven't, go and have a look. It's eat your dinner off the engine bay. Again, that's just me. And it did make me laugh. They were all sort of sitting there, no one wanted to get their greasy overalls on it and get it done. But they're good guys up there. Like I said, they're not expensive. Oh, there's a lovely old car just going past on me now. Little three-wheeler jobby. I can't get you on the video at the moment. She looks lovely. It's got foreign plates on it. 2 wheels at the front, 1 wheel at the back. And I know where he's going. It's the Goodwood Revival today. So we're going to have a load of old cars going over towards Chichester and Goodwood. Looks like a pram basically. 2 wheels on the front and 1 on the back. Anyway, but yeah, well, that's basically it. I did promise to get you back. Less on my eyes at the moment. My eyes do seem to be generally improving. I've already phoned my boss and said I'm back to work, boss, on Monday. I will be going back to work happily or not, just to say, you know, just to get a few things sorted out. But yeah, everything is a-okay on here. Yeah, one thing he did say, Darren, the mechanic guy, he said where people a lot foul with these. There's another old car going over, NON 277. I don't know, is that a Morgan? Yeah, it looks like an old Morgan. Yeah, it's an old shed on wheels, it's a Morgan. He said that where you get problems on these is oil changes. Good quality synthetic oil in here, he said, and regular oil changes. Should be between 5,000 and 6,000 miles. Get some oil and an oil filter on here. He said a lot of people, especially people that, you know, just basically want to use them to earn money and don't do any servicing on them, that's where they foul. The oil breaks down, and when the oil breaks down, the 2 things happen. One of them is the timing chain stretches because it's under wear. So once the timing chain stretches, the obviously timing slips out, and if it slips out enough, slips on the actual main drive cog, then what will happen is obviously pistons hit the top. So the top of the engine hits the bottom of it. Cam hits the bloody pistons, hit the followers and the rods, isn't it? The cam, and smashes all the valves. That's what I was looking for, the valves. So he said you've got to do the regular oil changes on here, and an oil and filter change on here, if you're not prepared to do it yourself, you're talking about 40 quid. It's only a little cartridge, something very, very small on here, but they do it, the guys do it for 40 quid and a good quality oil. So that's tip of the day from Jim. It's just a little bit of oil and a good oil every 5,000 to 6,000 miles. And Poppy at the moment is probably only doing about 6,000 miles a year. So she will, and that will go down when I pick up my other car. So 6,000 miles a year, 1 oil change a year. If you're doing more, then obviously more oil changes. Well, that's it, gang. Everything else is all sweet. It's a Friday. It's a bit overcast down here, and I've still got the shades on, but you know the reason why I'm wearing that. Okay, all comments gratefully received, good and not so good. I'm glad to have you on board. We are, as I said, increasing in subscribers. We are pushing up towards the 50 plus now, you know, and I'm quite happy with that. You know, it's happening. We're starting to sort of climb bit by bit. I welcome all your comments. I do, as much as I can, respond back to all your comments as well. So get them in, and I will respond back to us. Tell us some stories of your own cars. you know, or why you're thinking, why you've subscribed to my channel or our channel. Why have you subscribed? What is the interest there? Are you thinking of buying a taxi? Have you already got one? This old girl's on a 2003, sorry. Do you have an old FX that's even earlier? A Fairway? Do you have a Metro cab? Do you go back even further? You know, I'd love to know a little bit about the people that have actually subscribed to this channel for whatever reason. If you want to see some different content or anything like that, let me know, and within reason, and as long as it's legal, I will do it. I'll give it a go. I'm not doing it to boost the subscribers. I'm doing it because it's fun. Alright then, everyone out there, I'm going to let you go now because I'm purring is the word. I can actually hear the engine purr with that decent fuel in as well. And she's purring along at about 55 mile an hour at the moment. She seems more comfortable at that speed than the 70s. So she's purring along at 55 mile mpg, miles per hour, so mph. Touch Formica. No lights are on. Everything's okay. Ah, the doors. I didn't tell you about the doors. Oh, jeez. Do you remember I told you this driver's door here got really sticky? Fortunately, they took the pan off and he said, classic on here, water and crap gets down there. They had to strip it back, grease it up. The door is absolutely perfect now. The one in the rear near side that was coming and going, unfortunately, that did cost me a little bit. That was an actuator that had gone inside the door, and that was 58 quid for an actuator. But they put the actuator on now, and all the doors are locking fine now, so that's a positive. Remember, getting one of these, they are going to cost you a little bit of money. They just continually, you know, cost you, and they will cost you as well. They will cost you, these old motors. So I'm just helping that bike out. You will have to pay bits and pieces out on them because they've had a hard life. You know, it's an old girl. Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit, but I tell you what, they are a lot of fun. They are really a lot of fun. E-Type Jag just gone past, 997 UYV. Just a blue E-Type just gone past, off to Chichester. Yeah, they are a lot of fun. I don't know why they're a lot of fun. Again, put your comments down below. There's a reason why these are a lot of fun. I think because they're quirky. In the area I live, Little Hampton, LA, this is the only one around. So when it drives around, everyone recognises me now. And with the customised plate and CAB cab, that sort of just makes it a little bit sort of more interesting. I can actually give you I sure was going to go, wasn't I? But just a basic quick breakdown of this now. I reckon this cab, as I'm driving it at the moment, and I've had it over a year, including purchase price, all the bits I've had to do on it, including the spraying. Remember, I had to get rid of a couple of little bits of rust up on the wings. I reckon that she's probably setting me in, roughly off the top of my head, about 3.5 grand. So that's exactly what, that's including the purchase price as well, about 3.5 G. So, and that she is there now at 3.5 G. And I remember on some of my earlier videos, if you remember, I told you that buy yourself an old jalopy for 750 to 1,000. Buy one a little bit better, up to 1,500. buy a real sort of semi-decent one, 2.5. If you really want the creme de la cremes, top of the range ones, you've got to spend between 3 and 4. So that's exactly where I am now. The only difference is that I've had to do all the stuff. I've not put my time involved in it as well. But that's what you'll be paying for one that's, you know, like this. 3.5s to 4s. Possibly a bit more, depending on how many people were bidding for it. So that gives you just a general sort of gist of where they are. If you're mechanically minded, do what I done, got yourself a cheaper one and done it bit by bit yourself. Or if you've got the money, just walk straight in, spend about 4 grand, between 3 and 4 grand, and you've got one that's already sort of should be running really, really well and looked after, and you're proud to own. I'm proud to own Poppy. I really am proud to own Poppy. There's not a day go by that she don't make me smile, and I don't, you know, even now I still don't understand why. There's a certain little thing I miss. I'm still looking at getting a seat here in the near side here to me, a proper one, not the Jerry built one that's you have to weld a bar on. Get a proper seat put on here for passengers to sort of sit on. That's my next thing I'm going to be looking at, just getting the seat, which will just bolt on here. But remember, I'll have to tell my insurance company that, because it goes from 6 passengers then to a 7 passenger vehicle. So they would have to be aware of that. But apart from that, everything else is hunky-dory. She's a bit of a filthy state at the moment. She needs a wash, but it looks like it's going to rain, so I probably won't even bother today. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, I've gabbled on for 27 minutes, a big long one for me. I do apologise, and if these are too long, you've got the stop button and say, or leave me a comment and say, Jim, wind your neck in a bit, mate, will you? You went on a bit long today. Alright, mate, from mates and friends, from the big guy, Big Jim, in his London Taxi International Poppy 2003 with 286,000 miles and a brand new 13-month MOT sitting to the side of me that's going to go in my filing cabinet. I wish you all a very, very good day, a good morning. I wish you a very, very good weekend, everyone. And whatever you're doing, make sure you keep it safe, alright? Okay, everyone, from the big guy, I'm out of here. Cheers.